So I have mentioned previously that Jack Vance is my favorite fiction writer. He is also George R. R. Martin's, and he's the favorite fiction writer of a lot of writers who are better known, like Napoleon Chabon, who is behind me, there, a couple of his books, and Dan Simmons, author of the Hyperion Cantos, and of course George R. R. Martin. And he is very much a writer's writer, and when I read his autobiography, I realized, because at the time he had a reputation as being a pulp writer, but that's because he made his work deliberately more pulp accessible. But the ideas in his work were always what would be considered kind of highbrow, and his fans were... What I discovered reading his autobiography is it wasn't so much readers were into Vance as they were into any science fiction fantasy they could get, and publishers and other writers and editors all liked Vance and kept pushing him to audiences who were more tolerant of his kind of writing at the time. But he's still more of a writer's writer who tried to be pulp accessible. And so, like, my science fiction fantasy reading group read this, and most of the people didn't. Like, it's interesting historically, but I don't like it. I loved it. And I'm going to have more to say on some of the themes in Jack Vance, but this is his best-known work, most influential. The magic system of Dungeons & Dragons is based on the system in The Dying Earth. You can get this omnibus edition paperback pretty cheap. I would love a hardcover, but that is out of print. Like most of his books that are out of print, very expensive. And it's not an actual fantasy series. There's a spaceship on here because it's basically, if the Arthur C. Clarke, a sufficiently advanced, or in this case, advanced and decayed society is indistinguishable from magic, but it reads like fantasy. However, he wrote an actual fantasy series. So this series only loosely hangs together. This is an actual fantasy series he wrote. It's one of the, not absolute last, but one of the later things he wrote. And I only have this mass market paperback from my father as a physical copy. I would love to, again, have physical copies of the whole book. And it's one of the few Vance things that I haven't reread because it's one of the last Vance things I read. But it's sort of a Celtic-inspired, loosely Arthurian fantasy series, but not really Arthurian. It's based on this idea of the drowned land in Wales, and I forget the name, but if you see the channel Cambrian Chronicles, he has a number of videos on that topic. And so I wanted to say, if you are a fan of George R. R. Martin, frustrated that he's not finishing his series, you might want to check this out. I think you can certainly get like print-on-demand copies if it's not in print with all his stuff, and decide, because this is one of his more, I feel like, accessible mainstream books where he's not writing in sort of a writer's writer, highly philosophical way and then adding pulp elements. He is actually, in this series, I feel like he tried to tone down a lot of his more philosophical stuff and just write a story, which is one of the reasons I haven't reread it, is I'm more interested in the philosophical ideas. But I still, if you like Martin, are frustrated that he doesn't finish his series, I'd say maybe consider checking out Jack Vance's Lioness series and giving it a go, see what you think. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'm Magpie, this is Leela, and we'll see y'all in the next one.